What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Make Money and Have Fun show. This one, big episode number 9. Today, I'm super excited. I have a really fun, amazing guest who I actually just met about a month ago or so, back when I was at another event, at another seminar, and John Shin. So John Shin has so much cool stuff going on. He literally lives in a Disney house, which is really cool. I thought that was the coolest thing when he was talking about that last time. But you guys know the drill. So every week I'm bringing on superstars into this show. I'm bringing on people who are making money and they're having fun. So they've created that alignment, that level of fulfillment in their life. Because what I realized in business is that it's not all just about making money and it's not all just about having fun. We need to bridge that gap between both our passion and our prosperity. And Sir John Shin is definitely somebody who has done that. So let me give you a little background on John Shin, who he is, what he does, before I bring him up here. So Sir John Shin is a serial entrepreneur. He's a philanthropist. He's a movie producer. He's an author, motivational speaker, and critically acclaimed business coach. He started over 26 different companies from scratch, which have all become multi-million-dollar enterprises. And he is the co-founder of the All for One Foundation and sits on 6 different boards of charities. Sir John Shin also is the executive producer of the featured film Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, which is sweeping the world in multiple countries, and the modern day author of the best-selling Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill in 1937. His book, a Think and Grow Rich publication, was released on January 6th, 2020, called How Rich Asians Think and Grow Rich, published by the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So let's put our hands together for Mr. John Shin. Get in here. What's up, John?
Hey, what's happening?
What is going on, man? I'm super excited to have you here.
Great being here. Dude,
I'm loving the beard, man. It's rocking.
Fu Manchu, you know?
Exactly. I had Les Brown on my show a couple months back, and he's got, I don't know if you've seen him, he has like the tall hair now. But I feel like everybody has their Corona cut. Is that kind of what's going on with your beard?
Yeah. Started growing it in March, and so my wife hasn't kissed me in nearly 9 months. So so I think I might have to cut this here. So the deal is right after Christmas goes away the Fu Manchu.
Ah, I got you. I'm lighting myself up here a little bit. Bam, there we go, much better. I love it, man. So John, I always start off all of our guests by asking the same question to all of them. And this question, you can answer it however you'd like. I just asked for the abbreviated version if you can. But John, What is your story?
Yeah, gosh, you're right. I got to get the smaller version of that.
Right.
Hey, so I grew up in a very traditional Asian family, right?
Okay.
Which means from a career standpoint, occupation, we didn't have a lot of choices. It was you're either going to be a doctor or you'll be a lawyer. That was it. And in a traditional Asian family, you're not you don't talk back to your parents. You don't tell them that this is my life. That I get to do whatever I want, kind of thing. Because the parents, the traditional Asian parents, basically have brainwashed their kids from day one, and the sacrifices they made coming to this country, et cetera, et cetera. So when you hear that, basically to send their kids to college so they can become doctors and lawyers, you can't say, I want to do this or that. So I did go to law school. And so I hated every moment of it, but I did it just to appease my parents and make them proud. So, oftentimes, we wonder why certain things happen to us or for us. But I'll tell you what, in that legal profession is where I met my wife. So here we are now, 26 years later. We have 4 kids. We were just 2 young kids. We had $500,000 in credit card debt. Not credit card, student loan debt.
Okay.
We had $80,000 in credit card debt. And we're just wondering, is there ever going to be a chance to be debt-free? So we both in the legal profession got a bunch of friends. We were going to start our own law firm. And then my wife was the first courageous one to opt out and say, I'm not going to do this. So she made that very brave move, got into the financial industry in 1994. And then I saw the evidence, the amount of money she was making. And so I quit my job. You didn't have to be a brain scientist or a nuclear scientist to figure out, that she was making more money than me and that maybe I should shift my careers. So I also quit my job and then started working with her. And since that time, we have now opened up, in all 50 states. We've got over 200 offices. A lot of the buildings that we have offices, we've purchased them and acquired them and own them today. And that was it. That was our story. And, we started our own charity. And then from the charity, we, doing nonprofit work around the world, doing just different types of humanitarian work. And that, by the way, is called All for One, which you alluded to earlier in the intro.
Right.
And then we got interviewed. One of the questions that someone asked was, most people ask, how did this all happen to you or for you? And so we did this interview with Forbes magazine. And Forbes, basically, the question they asked also is, what do you attribute your success to? And we said it was based on a book called Think and Grow Rich. So that's the beginning of this whole Think and Grow Rich.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah. So, we went to the foundation. We asked them if we can get the rights to make a movie. And then from the movie, I got the rights to do a modern day version of the book. And then we went on a world tour. Yeah, that is, by the way, that one in your hand is the unedited text of Napoleon.
The classic.
That is the newest, latest, greatest one that's out, and I would recommend that one to everyone. Yeah, so that was one of the original covers. Okay. Yep. But the one that you just held up is the most relevant one, and quite frankly, I think it's the easiest reading one too. So I would recommend that to everyone.
Have you seen this one?
That is one of the few original books. If you can get your hands on those, that's a classic one right there.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Those are good. That's more than what most people have, unfortunately, But yeah, it's really crazy that, this book, Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill. I mean, can you imagine? Napoleon was only 25 years old. And at the age of 25, he approached, Andrew Carnegie.
That's how old I am.
There you go. And said, hey, Mr. Carnegie, what is the secret to becoming successful? And Andrew Carnegie referred him to his dearest and closest friends. And then, of course, Napoleon spent 25 years interviewing some of the greatest minds out there, the thought leaders, industrial giants, business moguls. And that's what you're doing, which I'm super proud of you that you're doing this podcast show. You're building it up. You've got your brand. You've got some great people. You had Les Brown on here, who's an amazing individual. So it's a different time, and so that book, by the way, is now sold over 200 million copies. That the original Think and Grow Rich, which makes it only one of 5 books that have ever sold over 100 million copies. So the other ones, by the way, is what is it? Lord of the Rings. Okay. Harry Potter. There was a trilogy or a saga called Twilight.
Yep.
Then you've got the Bible and Think and Grow Rich. That's it. Those are the only 5 books that have ever sold over 100 million copies. Think and Grow Rich has cost over 200 million. And 4 out of those 5 have become a theatrical movie. And, Fred, you would think that with 200 million copies that somebody on this planet with 7 billion people would have called up the foundation and said, can we get the rights to make a movie? And no one did. Can you imagine that? Like, no one has ever done that. So we called them up, we got the rights, and here it is. The movie, we went into production in 2016.
Okay.
We got the contract in 2015, and we went into production 2016 and 17, and the movie came out in 2018. So pretty crazy. Yeah.
When did you and your wife first read Think and Grow Rich?
So, here's another crazy thing is that, in the early 90s, when we started our entrepreneurial journey in the early 90s, 91, 92, 93, 94,
right.
we didn't have Google. We didn't have Amazon. There were the word podcast. I don't even think it existed back then. We didn't have virtual events. We didn't have the Google, education that you can get, YouTube. In fact, I don't even think we even had the internet in the early 90s. Okay. So the only way that you would learn anything was to go to a bookstore and pick up some books and do the old school, go to the library and pick up microfiche. If anybody even knows what that is. And then, by the way, when I say microfiche, it's not little tiny fishes. Okay. It's how they copied copies of magazines and newspapers and books and actually put it on like a plastic film and embedded it into a system. That was kind of our way of getting content. And so,
I barely know what a library is. So
I know. The younger generation, your generation, and the Gen Zs, they've never been into it. My kids have literally said, I don't remember the last time I've ever been into a library, but you're right. So we went into a bookstore called Crown Books, and we picked up that book, Think and Grow Rich, in 1995, and we began reading it. And it's crazy that we would read the same chapter, and after each chapter, I'd said to my wife, Arlene, like, hey, so what'd you get out of that chapter? And she goes, well, on this page, I'm like, what? I didn't even get that out of that page. So I would actually read that page. I'm like, God, I read that, but it didn't strike me like it did her.
Sure.
So when you're reading the book, everybody has a different takeaway from the book.
The funny thing for me, just to talk about Think and Grow Rich for a minute, is actually the first time I read it, it didn't hit me at all. I was like, another self-help book, whatever.
Yeah.
And then all my friends are talking about this book, and I'm like, I read it and it wasn't that great. And then the second time I read it is when it hit me. And so I was like curious if, what your experience was like with it. And I love the fact that you and your wife were reading it together. So like you were saying, you could kind of bounce those ideas off of each other. You had like your own little book club kind of thing going on, is what it sounds like.
Exactly. So for me, it was like, as I'm reading through it, there's so much in every sentence, you just have to sit there and I was like so curious to know, how in the world. Here's the thing. Imagine today. You meet a guy or the Wright brothers, right? Not like Wright, R-I-G-H-T, the Wright brothers, but the W-R-I-G-H-T, Wright brothers. Can you imagine, you meet these two brothers and like, hey, what do you guys do? And then you go, well, we're going to invent the way man can fly like birds. Like, can you imagine, right? Because they're the ones who invented the plane, right?
Yeah.
So these guys are out there trying to figure out a way to build some concoction that we would fly one day. So can you imagine you meet them and you're like, hey, what do you guys do for a living? They're like, we're gonna build a way that man can fly like birds. You would literally look at them and go, these guys are crazy. Like, they're nuts. And and even today, it would be like someone walking up to the average person and say, so what do you do? And they said, well, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm going to become a multimillionaire. And people would look at you, what are you, crazy? Like, you should go get a job and go get a benefit and have something secure. So it's crazy when I'm sitting there reading the Wright brothers and what they were thinking. And even Henry Ford. Can you imagine back when Henry Ford was building, the Model T, and he was basically saying that we're going to move a carriage without horses. Like, you would look at a guy and go, what? Like, what do you mean you're going to move a carriage without a horse? It's just unfathomable. It was almost like futuristic. You're in a different world. And so that's what I loved about reading the stories in there and how they came up with all this and how they got to where they are. And I think it's very important for people to really turn on their imagination, because when you look at one of the key fundamental ingredients of all these successful people, and even today, is bringing their creativity to the front.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to kind of shift the script here a little bit and talk about the Asian community. It seems like you kind of have a bit of an effect on that. You wrote a book called How Rich Asians Think, based off of Think and Grow Rich. But where did that kind of all stem for you? Just starting out, like, is it a thing to give back to the Asian community, or what's really like your take on it?
Oh God, that's a sensitive subject matter. That's a good one. I look at the Asian community, and they are the least represented in so many different areas. So, for instance, if you look at television, how many Asians celebrities do you know? If I said, "Hey, name me 3 people that you know that are Asian celebrities today on television," most people can't even name 3.
Right.
Name me, other than Jackie Chan,
Oh.
name 3 Asian celebrities in the movie industry, right? Or if I said, name 3 Asians that you know in the NBA or the NFL, right? Or Major League Baseball. And most people would say, are there any Asians in baseball or basketball, or, and they're the least represented. And it's interesting that there is a book called Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And then there's a Think and Grow Rich Latino choice. And there's a Think and Grow Rich for women. But so I was like, okay, so when I saw those books and I was buying them on Amazon, because I didn't know any of these other authors, right? But I bought their books. I bought the Black Choice Latino Women. And Amazon is the best of suggestive selling, aren't they? Like, people who bought this also bought, next thing you know, you're putting 10 things in your cart, and you went in there to buy one book, right?
Right.
So I was like, wait a second, where's the Asian one? So I typed in Think and Grow Rich Asian. Then I typed in Think and Grow Rich Oriental, Think and Grow Rich Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Taiwanese, and nothing popped up. And I'm like, wait a second. Are you telling me that there's no one representing the Asian community? So that's when I called up Don Green at the Napoleon Hill Foundation and said, hey, Don, I noticed you got Black, Latino women, but you have no Asian. And he said, you're absolutely right. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, we just haven't found the right Asian author. And so I said, can I write the modern day version of this and get some Asian, studs and studettes in there? And he said, John, we couldn't think of a better person. So literally 3 days later, I had a contract emailed to me. I signed it like in a heartbeat, sent it back. And and I started writing my book, called Think and Grow Rich, an Asian Choice. And so from there, the publishers came to me and said, hey, John, are you open to changing the title of your book? And I said, absolutely. But I'm curious to know why. And that's when I got a crash course on algorithms, because if you type in the word Think and Grow Rich in Amazon now, if that was the book, then my book would be buried with the original book, right? It would never come to surface. And so we changed the title and also the cover, and we called it How Rich Asians Think, and a Think and Grow Rich publication. And what's crazy was right before our book came out, there was a movie that was released called Crazy Rich Asians. And so as people bought Crazy Rich Asians, and that movie went crazy viral as well. Right. And so people who bought that, Amazon said people who bought Crazy Rich Asians also bought How Rich Asians Think. And so it was like a great combination. Awesome. Yeah, the timing couldn't have been any better, So
yeah.
There you go.
Helpful. I love that. I honestly, I love that so much. I love it when I bring people on here who basically have a business with a cause, right? It's for something bigger than them, which basically everybody does. And I think that really, at least for me, I've noticed that as kind of a metric of success, right? People always talk about your why and having a bigger why than just money or just you and this and that. And I think that, doing something like that is absolutely incredible. I love seeing that representation. I want to bring up something again that's current events, and I'd love to hear your take on it. So I'm sure you're aware that Tony Hsieh recently just passed, the owner of Zappos. Mm-hmm. And I know that I have quite a few Asian friends who are also entrepreneurs, and that was a pretty big hit for them. How did you take it at all when that happened?
You know, Tony is such a humble individual. I mean, he was originally supposed to be in my book, by the way, right?
Okay.
And so we couldn't get our schedules together, and it just didn't work out. But I was supposed to interview Tony for my own podcast show. So it was really unfortunate because we had that scheduled for next year in the first quarter, and it was such a tragic accident to see somebody who made such a huge, who's such an inspirational individual, just very humble, very, not very flamboyant with all the, materialistic things. For him, he was a very much a minimalist, as many people know. He wasn't living in some 40,000 square foot mansion with 18 bedrooms, which he could have probably bought, being worth about $1.2 billion. But he lived in a trailer, like one of those, silver, trailer trucks or cargo, things.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really unfortunate. I understand there's still a lot of investigation underway to figure out how he was trapped inside a storage room and couldn't get out. So it's a very tragic story. Yeah.
Man, that's rough. But let's flip the script again here. I want to talk about your title. So you're a sir. You were knighted, correct?
Yeah. So it's crazy, man. I mean, my life is just one of those things where, like, is this for real? Is this really happening? Ever since I was a little kid, I've always been one of those medieval movie guys. I watched Game of Thrones. I liked the Musketeers, right? Or Lord of the Rings. And, all for one for all, right? The Musketeers.
Right.
So, I said, man, my kids or my wife, we said, if we can go back in time, like, what era would you like to go back? And I said, man, I'd love to be in the medieval days, and be a knight, and so it's crazy. I went to a party. I met some people there, and the host of the party was just kind of doing an introduction, right? Hey, John, this is Fred, this is Mike, this is Duke. We just kind of all met. And so I basically met all these people there, and I started fist bumping everybody, right? Just saying hello. And so there was a guy named Duke, and I fist bumped him, and then we're just having some conversation, thinking just, like everybody else. Well, towards the middle of the party, the host basically gets everybody together and says, hey, everyone, we have some very distinguished guests here. We'd love to have you come around and surround ourselves. We have royalty here. I'm like, whoa, royalty? Like, I wonder who that is. So next thing I know, they're introducing that guy, Duke, right? He is the Duke, right? He is the Duke of Austria. Okay. So I'm like sitting there going, are you kidding me? I just fist bumped the royalty of Austria. I felt so bad. So I walk up to him afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, I am so embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I am so sorry. I fist bumped you. I thought your name was Duke. I didn't think you were really a Duke, and like the Duke of Austria.
Yeah.
And he says, it's okay. I've never really fist bumped anybody, and that was actually kind of cool.
That's awesome.
I know I can officially say that I fist bumped the Duke of Austria. So anyway, so we met and had a great conversation, and when you meet people, you kind of tell if there's chemistry, right? The first time that we clicked, we had great chemistry. We swapped emails, phone numbers, and got on Facebook and just started going back and forth. And we just became good friends, and I do a lot of humanitarian work around the world. One is with our charity, the All for One Foundation, and then we do with other organizations as well. And so one day I get this call, and it's the Duke and the Prince Raphael, and basically said that they wanted to knight me into the Royal Order of Constantine the Great and St. Helen, which is today the oldest existing active royal order still in existence today. So, there's people like Paula Abdul, Tony Braxton. They've been knighted by the same royal order. So I was like, when I first was on the phone, I literally said, "This is hilarious. Am I being punked? Like, am I being?" Because because I pull a lot of pranks myself, and I'm a joker, and we have a lot of fun, as your theme of your podcast, having. So I'm always having fun. I really thought I was being punked right now. So I was playing along with it the whole time, and then at the end they literally said, "Okay, great. Well, would you like to come to Spain so that we can have everything documented in the parliament and do it in the royal courts and this and that?" And I'm like, this is real, isn't it? And then it became much more real and surreal as we got to the day of the knighting, where we were knighted and the whole, knighthood with the sword, and we got the white capes and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty wild, So now.
So cool.
We're officially, it's been a little bit over a year now. That was September 2019 that we were knighted, and so just over a year now. So pretty amazing.
Did you ever think that you would have that title in your life, like growing up at all, or was it completely a shock?
Yeah, total shock. I mean, that is like one of those things where, you always say to yourself, I wish, like when I remember when Elton John was knighted. And so Elton John is officially Sir Elton John,
right?
Or Sir Sean Connery, right? Mm-hmm. Or what's his name with the Beatles? He's also knighted.
Paul McCartney, Ringo.
Paul McCartney, yeah, Paul McCartney is knighted also. You wonder. I thought you had to be royalty or you need to be in the bloodline to have those kind of titles. And then, of course, once I got knighted, I wanted to do some homework because there were different people that I was addressing, and they said she's a baroness and he's a baron, and that lady or guy is a count or a viceroy. And I'm like, okay, what's the difference? Like, how do you get all these titles and how do you earn it? So they're like the Duke and Duchess, that is bloodline. Those are typically the children of the monarchy, right? So like Prince Charles has their children, and they're the dukes and duchesses. So a lot of those titles are through blood, but there's other titles that can be earned or be given to you. So the Sir and the Dame and the Knight is a title that I have, but it dies with me, right? So upon my death, the knighthood disappears also, right? But it doesn't pass on to my next generation. So then I find out there's a whole hierarchy in the royal family, in the royal hierarchy, right? So above a sir and a dame is a baron and baroness. And then above a baron and a baroness is a count and a countess. So obviously I realize now I'm at the lowest level of royalty at this moment, or not royalty, of nobility, I should say, excuse me. Yeah, I'm at the lowest level of nobility. And so I went to the prince and I said, Prince Raphael, I said, I would love to know what I need to do to become a baron. So we had a meeting with a couple of the other dukes, and so they sat down and said, if you want to be a baron, it usually takes about 10 years or this or that, and you got to do this, this, and this. And I got that all done in not 5 or 10 years. We did it in 5 months. So as I said earlier, September 2019, we were knighted. And then in February of 2020, this year, right before COVID, we were invited to come to Hawaii, which is the only royal palace that exists on American soil. So we went out there and met with the prince and several dukes, and they basically said, we would like to promote you and your wife to baron and baroness. So that is, so we got that title. We haven't officially, it hasn't been recorded in the European courts yet, because as soon as we came back from Hawaii, we booked our airline tickets. We came home, we had to repack and get a few of our affairs squared away here, and we were going to fly to Spain to go there and have everything notarized, documented, get our cape, get all our medallions, things like that. And that's when we get a call from the prince, and he said, hey, COVID is really bad here right now. Thousands of people are dying. We're on complete lockdown. We're going to have to postpone this. And so since then, we haven't had a chance to go back, but we unofficially, we are baron and baroness, but unofficially, it hasn't been recorded in the European courts yet. But that's, I know, it's crazy, man.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I mean, it's funny that you were completely shocked that you even, made your way into nobility, and I'm completely shocked that I have somebody in nobility on my show. This is like such a really cool moment. But let's turn it back to entrepreneurship for a minute here, and let's talk to some people. I want to talk to the people who are new to business. They're just getting out there. They don't have a ton of money yet, but they have this vision and this goal and this drive. What kind of advice would you give to somebody like that? Somebody in that type of a position?
Well, a lot of times people think you need substantial capital to actually get a business going. And you don't need, you need some money, but you don't need a substantial amount of money, okay? Mm-hmm. And so, for instance, my wife and I, we started our financial service business basically with about $600. Okay, so here with a $600 investment, we got into the financial service industry, and now I don't know what our business is probably worth, but it's multi millions, right?
Is it still financial services that you do?
Say that again.
Do you still do financial services, or is it a different business now?
Yeah, no, we still own it. In fact, we've got over 200 offices now in the United States, 3 up in Canada. We're operating all 50 states already, and that is one of our core businesses that provide residual and passive income. So yeah, absolutely, that is one of our core businesses. So yeah, we started that with $600, Fred, and now we got a multi-million-dollar business, So I tell people, for instance, a couple days ago, I was talking to somebody, and they said, John, but where would I even get $1,000 right now? I don't have $1,000, right? And so the first thing I try to tell that person, I was on this Zoom call doing some coaching, is I said, we're going to have to, first of all, change your demeanor, right? Your attitude, because even just the sense I'm getting from you, just talking to you on the phone right now, is you seem very angry and very bitter. And I said, you can't be bitter. You need to get better. Okay. So, being bitter and angry doesn't serve you and serve anybody else. So I want you to be better. And by being better is you got to start reading books, right? You got to start listening to the right podcasts. You got to start to go and seek what I call here. I said, I don't mean to be insensitive, but I tell people, look, losers seek opinion, but winners seek counsel, right? So you need to go and seek counsel from people. And as you go and seek counsel, that you can then develop, the right character and the right attitude. You seem so angry right now, I said, and I said, so bitter. I said, you should be happy that whether you're a believer or not, that your creator has given you another chance. You woke up today, okay? Were you grateful for that? And I said, because I want you to realize how many people didn't wake up today. How many people can't wake up, or they're in a comatose state in a hospital bed, and they're hanging on, for their dear life. And here you are, you just woke up, you were able to take a deep breath, and God, your creator, the world, the universe, whatever you want, whatever you believe in, just gave you another chance. So you should be fired up today. And I said, here's what I want to do is let's see if we can find you some money. And he goes, what do you mean? And I was like, what, you don't know? There might be money out there for you. And he says, what are you talking about? And I said, well, do you ever pray? And he goes, no. And I said, well, you should try praying sometimes, because I'm not here to preach, people. For everybody's like, John seems like he's a preacher. I'm not a preacher, but I want you to know that, when we pray, which is what my wife and I did, we pray. You ever wonder that when you pray for things, that maybe God is sending you what you're asking for in a different package, right? That what you're asking for, like, God, please send me $1 million. Do you really believe that God is going to send you in a briefcase $1 million FedEx with a tracking number to your house? Okay. What I believe, maybe he will. I don't know. He works in mysterious ways. But hey, I believe that God sends you what you're asking for in a different package. And so I said, I don't know if I said to this guy, I said, I don't think I'm the guy to give you $1 million or whatever, but let me show you. I said, have you ever heard of the Department of Unclaimed Property? And he goes, no, what is that? And so, Fred, are you familiar with the Department of Unclaimed Property?
I'm not.
Okay.
That sounds like that'll be a good case study for you.
All right, so this is huge. Okay. In fact, let me share my screen. Can I share my screen with you? I know that
you should be able to just click.
Okay.
See if it'll work for you.
All right, hang on a second.
Give me my first.
So, yeah, let me just see here. Share my screen. All right, how do can you see anything or no?
I still see you.
Let's see here. Oh, there it is. It says share. I just found the share button. There we go.
Oh, here it is. Yep.
Okay. So get this. So you can go in here and type in Department of Unclaimed Property. So this is the California Department of Unclaimed Property. So here's what happens is that in every state that's out there, every single state in the United States has the Department of Unclaimed Property. And you may go out there and you may have an old, utility company, an old bank, credit union, or an old job, or maybe you are the beneficiary. You're the beneficiary of somebody's account, maybe a life insurance policy, right? Okay. Maybe it's their, their bank. They died and made you the beneficiary, but they never told you you're the beneficiary. And now, how do you know to go and get that money if you never knew you were even the beneficiary? Does that make sense? So when that happens and nobody claims that money goes to what they call the Department of Unclaimed Property. So, for instance, Fred, have you lived in California, or where do you live?
I live in Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right, so let me just come in here, and I was going to use you as an example. So we go to this website. By the way, Pennsylvania has this also. So you're going to have to type in Pennsylvania Department of Unclaimed Property. So you're going to search for unclaimed property, and let's just search for unclaimed property, and there it is. So I'm going to use a friend of mine. His name is Ed Milet, okay? So I'm going to use Ed Milet. We're going to go here. I'm not a robot. Continue. So I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to look at all these different properties where there is an Edward J. Milet, okay? And so all this money, all these accounts right here are Ed's accounts. Money that he left behind somewhere. They tried to reach him to send him the money, and they couldn't find him, so they couldn't reach him, so they sent the money to the state of California, and then the state of California and now is holding this money until Ed comes and claims it. So let's just say we'll go down here to, I don't know, let's pick La Quinta, right? So we come down here and click this. Right now there is $39.87 that California's Physician Services has that they try to send them back some sort of a reimbursement check or a deductible. Oh, here it is. Individual policy claim payment, right? But you know what? There you go. He could have claimed that money. Here's another one. That's $37, right? Let's click this one. This is $5.33, right? This one is, let's click this one. This is $197, right? And next thing you know, you start to go through here and you start to find all this money. Let's check. I know Ed used to live in Chino Hills. Here's one for $133. So there you go. That's already $400 or $500. Here's another one for $50 from Transamerica Life Insurance Company, right? Here's another one for $300 from Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor, right? So if I start to go through this, I will bet you that I'm going to find somewhere, probably close to $2,000. Okay, so this is why I tell people, let's go in there and see if there's some money. Well, guess what? Last week, we found $152,000 for somebody.
Wow.
So they're now able to use that money to pay off some bills and use that money and start a business. Okay. So I think that people, Fred, today after this podcast, you may want to go into the Pennsylvania Department of Unclaimed Property, type in Fred Postamo and see what you find.
You think? That's immediately what I'm doing after this. That's golden. I love it. One of my favorite things about financial literacy and about money and finances is I'm always uncovering new little golden nuggets like that. Just these new little gems of like learning about things like the first time you learn about cash value life insurance, your mind explodes. The first time you learn about self-directed IRAs, your mind explodes. First time learning about the unclaimed properties, your mind explodes. And it's like, it's just such a cool evolution to go through with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, I tell people, rather than trying to find out when you're going to learn all this, because unfortunately our school system never taught us this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to go and seek a mentor that is got some financial savviness, expertise, and then that person can help you build, learn more about money, learn about taxes, learn how to make money with money, things like that.
Yeah.
So for instance, like right now, there's so many people that are struggling financially. They're just, as I said earlier, angry and bitter. And so I did a podcast and I said, look, I think anyone could become an entrepreneur. And so, but you just got to go out there and ask, without fear. So for instance, people said, John, how did you get the rights from the Napoleon Hill Foundation? What was the trick? And I said, excuse me, I go, there was no trick. I go, you want to know what the secret was? And they go, yes. I go, I asked without fear. Right? Well, how did you get the rights to get the movie? I mean, the book, and get the modern day version of Think and Grow Rich, right? Which, by the way, it's this one right here, right? How did you do that? I asked without fear. And so this girl calls me up and she said, I love when you said that. So I want to call you and ask without fear. Will you mentor me? I said, absolutely. I said, come to my house and let's sit down and go kneecap to kneecap. We sit down, we have a great conversation. And I said, let's figure out what kind of business we want to start. And she said, okay. So I said, tell me what you love to do. In fact, a great author, which another guy I would recommend a lot of his books, is John Maxwell, right?
Mm. Yep.
John Maxwell says that you have to love what you do and do what you love. Love what you do and do what you love. Because if you don't love what you do, if you're not passionate about it, that's right. Laws of Leadership, it's a great book, right?
That's one, yeah.
If you don't love what you do, the moment you hit some adversity, you're going to quit. You're going to say, you're going to start, you know what you're going to do? You're going to suffer a disease. You will get a disease and suffer from this disease, and it's called excusitis. Right. And you're going to say, this is the universe. This is God telling me that this isn't for me or whatever. That's nonsense, right? Yeah. That's not how, those are the excuses I hear. But so this girl says, okay, so I go, so what do you love to do? And she sit there for a moment at the table. She thought about it. She's like, I don't really know. And I said, well, what do you love? Like, what would you do 7 days a week, all hours of the day? And you would do it whether you made money or didn't. And you know what she says? She says, I'd take a bath. And I go, a what? She goes, I would like to take a bath. And I said, baths, like that's what you love to do? She goes, yeah. She goes, don't you? And I was like, I'm a shower kind of guy, I don't like, take baths. So I said, I was a little taken back because that's not what I was expecting. And I said, tell me what you like or love about taking baths. She goes, well, we've got bath bombs and this and that. And I was like, a bath bomb? I go, what is a bath bomb? And she goes, you don't know what a bath bomb? I was like, I don't know what a bath bomb is. Do you know what a bath bomb is, Fred?
I do know what a bath bomb is.
That's pretty impressive, man. Okay. Well, I didn't. I was like, well, tell me what that is. So she starts describing it to me, and I was like, oh, you mean it's like a gigantic Alka-Seltzer, isn't it? Right? She's like, yeah, I guess so, but it's a bath bomb. I was like, cool. And I said, then you know what? That's your business. That your business should be in the aromatherapy bath bomb business, blah, blah, blah. We started having this conversation. We created a website. Few $100, okay? Then what we did is we got her credit card processing, okay? No money. It's an online credit card processing, so you don't have to buy a terminal or anything. And then guess what we did is we developed this website. We did a few ads on Instagram. We got the orders in, and we took that money, and we went and made the products. Okay, and then we sent them the products, and then guess what? She came to me and said, look, we sold all this. Oh my gosh, we just need more money. And that's when I put a little bit of my own money into it and help her build her business up. Well, guess what? That little online e-commerce bath bomb business is now just crossed over $2 million on online sales this year.
Wow.
Okay. So this is why I try to tell people that, you know what? Anything can happen to anybody as long as you have a burning desire, right? You've got to be hungry, right, for what you want, and that comes straight out of the book, Think and Grow Rich, right? The starting point of all achievement is to have that burning desire, right? He had that burning desire. She had the eye of the tiger, and unfortunately, a lot of people just don't have that burning desire. Okay.
I love that so much, John. So I'm writing my book, Make Money and Have Fun, right now. It's going to be my third book that's coming out, and I'm literally writing that section right now where I call it unconventional entrepreneurs. And it's these people that have these obscure, almost seemingly ridiculous ideas, and they almost get themselves caught in this negative loop where they think that because their idea is so obscure, they can't make a business out of it. And I love the fact that you just told that story and that you just did that. My favorite thing to debunk is the myth that people say when they say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I think that's false. I think that's completely false. I like to change it to do what you love and you'll work every day of your life, but it won't feel like work anymore.
That's right.
That's really why I do this show, because it's just so much fun for me.
That's right. So, hey, I'll give you another one. Hey, Matt, do we have this old one, this version here? The one that doesn't move? Do you know where it's at? I got to share this story with you, right? So on my desk here, right, I like to hang my cell phone, right? So I can actually see it when I'm on I want it like standing, right? So we ordered one of these little gizmos right here. Do you see that, right? So what happens is you just take your cell phone and you do this little deal, just like that.
Right.
Now the problem with this, right, and it's kind of cool because now I can have my cell phone like that. But the problem with this piece right here is that this stupid back piece right here doesn't go back and forth. It doesn't maneuver. It's static. It's fixed. Does that make sense? And I'm like, what a piece of crap. I wish somebody would invent this where this thing would actually move. And so, you know what we said? Why does it have to be somebody? Why don't we just do it on our own? So guess what we did? I went to my manufacturers and said, I need you guys to build me this. Does that make sense? Where this stupid thing moves. Well, guess what? We got it done. So here's what we own. We own a company that does this. Look. So I built it. I patented this thing. This is my idea right here. Is that kind of cool?
It's amazing.
And now we're selling these and we're making money online. How stupid. And this is when you say it's not stupid. It's when you have these obscure ideas and all of a sudden the problem is most people, Fred, don't act on their thoughts. Okay, so it's so important we guard with all our life what we have in between the 6 inches. What are we allowing going into our head? Okay, because whatever you think about, whatever your thoughts are, will affect the way you feel. All right. So I call it TFA, right? And how you feel will determine the way you act, and the way you act will determine your results. Now, your results are all predicated on your what? Thoughts. So everything is, what are you thinking about? Do you ever think about what you're thinking about? Okay? Because, most people, you know what they're thinking about? They're thinking about, oh my God, the news, the election, this and that, World War. Look, you keep on putting that into your head. Next thing you know, you think that the world is coming to an end. Okay? That is what you programmed into your head, and all of a sudden you're going to spiral out of control. Yet you got people like Jeff Bezos, right? And other multi-billionaires, including us. We're not a billionaire yet, but we're doing pretty good, right? Yeah, not a billionaire. I don't need to be a billionaire, but we're living that life that we've always dreamed of without even being a billionaire. But let me just tell you something. Our business is up 300% over last year, right? Because we don't let all those negative thoughts come in there and occupy our brain. And so here I sat there and I'm like, okay, do you want this right here that's static and doesn't move? Or are we going to complain about that? Or are you going to do something about that? So instead of complaining about it, we did something about it. We actually invented one just like it, and we're putting these guys out of business, right? So guess what? This is our wonderful gadget. So you have to act on your dreams. And the word act, ACT, stands for this. A stands for appropriate action. You want to go make $1 million? What appropriate actions are you taking? If you're gaming and you're on TV and watching movies, that's not appropriate. That's not going to go and serve you to become a multimillionaire, right? You want to be a podcaster? Then start a podcast. Don't talk about it. Just do it, okay? And then C stands for be consistent. They go, well, I started my podcast and I only had 5 people. So we all started with a few number of people. And next thing you know, someone else said, hey, I just heard his show, that guy's show. I was just watching Fred's show. That was some good content. They want to go and see what his other speakers have to say, right? His other guests. Next thing you know, you got a following. People start following. Then you got hundreds, then you go thousands. It takes time for things to develop. That's why you've got to be consistent, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. I've got these Ring devices that I put up on my property, right? And as it's getting activated and updating all its software, this little voice comes on and it says, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So, it takes time for things to be where you want it to be. And the last letter, T, stands for tenacity, to be tenacious, right? Be that pit bull and not let go. And just there is no, in the book Think and Grow Rich, they talk about what is your plan, your plan. The plan is there is no other plan. This is the only plan. There is no plan B. Yep. And he illustrates it by talking about burning the ship, okay? And the story of the army that goes to fight, and basically he burns all the bridges. He burns all the boats, right? And it's also very well illustrated in our movie. And Fred, just so you know, I don't know, if your audience will be able to watch this show, if you'll have it edited and updated on your platform. Yep. But December 11th, okay, December 11th, we are going to be showing for free the Think and Grow Rich Legacy movie on Zoom.
Cool.
So all they got to do is go to tgrlegacymovie.com, tgrlegacymovie.com. That's www.tgrlegacymovie.com. There it is. And register, and you can watch the movie absolutely for free. Just go in there. It's not spam. You're going to put in your email. We will send you a link to watch the movie. This will be the last showing of the movie for the year 2020, December 11th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's make sure the East Coast people know that's Pacific time. So that would be 9:30 East Coast time. I know you and I had a little misunderstanding or miscommunication this morning. You thought it was 10 o'clock your time, but 1 o'clock my time. But and so you were texting like, we're on air, where are you? And I'm like, wait, it's 1 o'clock. And West Coast. There you go. Well done.
Oh, my fault.
There you go. No, it's all good. But We made it work out, and I hope that you guys all watch the movie, because I'm telling you, I believe with all my heart that this movie will shift the way you think, okay? And we got to definitely reprogram the way y'all think right now, because your life could be different if you guys start thinking a little bit differently.
Wow. I love it, man. This was amazing. Normally, this is the point where I'd ask, what do you want to leave our audience with? But I think you've said it all, man. This is amazing stuff. You are such a cool dude, John. I'm so happy and thankful that you said yes to this opportunity to be here, and I'm totally grateful to have you here, man. This was a blast.
Absolutely. Super honored. And hey, congratulations on your podcast show. You're going to stay with it, stick with it, continue, because that is the future. People aren't watching TV anymore because it's all nonsense. People want to go and watch great podcast shows and get some insight on what they need to do to change the direction and the course of their life.
Absolutely. I mean, this is it. I mean, you're going on about 9 or 10 different podcasts. You're live on Facebook right now. You're live on YouTube. And I'm even working on making this into a TV show. So we might be on Roku soon.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Cool. So I'm super grateful to have you here. Is there any last words that you have for our audience before we say goodbye?
No, not really. Just want to wish everybody a happy holiday. Be safe out there. And God bless every single one of you guys. And we're all here to support you and guide you and mentor you. And, we know that people are when you're in the hospital or the medical world, people that can't breathe, or their heart has stopped, we need to give them CPR, right? We need to give them CPR. And it's not like we can go around, you and me, Fred, and giving everybody mouth to mouth and chest compressions, right? But what people need today, I think more is not more, but equally is EPR. Okay, not CPR, but EPR. And here comes my acronym again. And what my acronym is, EPR stands for this. I hope that each and every single one of you, that you encourage, right, 5 people today. If you would just take your phone for a moment and just text 5 people and give them a positive, encouraging message, or a quote that would change somebody's life. Okay. The letter P is to praise somebody, right? So do yourself a favor and do me a favor and do someone a favor. I would love to have you text 5 people today and just praise them for who they are and what they stand for. And it could be your best friend. It could be your mother. It could be your father. It could be your brother or sister or sibling or a coworker, and just say, hey, thank you for being an amazing mom. Thank you for being a great dad. Thank you for being the greatest grandmother that a grandson can have. Those kinds of words, by just reaching out. And you shouldn't be thanking people once a year on Thanksgiving Day, but do it, frequently every day. And once you get into the habit of doing it, then you start to get a lot of joy and fulfillment by sending those kinds of messages, because for you, it might feel like just a simple text message, but the person who's receiving it could be all the difference. Okay. And the last one, R, stands for recognition. Give people the recognition they deserve. Don't try to take all the credit yourself, because you did not get to where you want to be by yourself. It's unfortunate that I seem to be the one getting all the credit for who we are and what we've done. But I want to say thank you to everyone who supported me and being a part of our journey and our success. So appreciate everybody. We love you all. And Fred, those are my final thoughts.
Awesome. Thanks so much, John.
Right on.
You guys. Have a good one.
Take care.